Okay, this is Daytona USA on the Sega Dreamcast, and it's the third video that I'm doing in this series. So the first two were looking at the original and the Championship Circuit Edition on the Saturn, and this is really the third and last home conversion we got of Daytona until the PlayStation 3 and Xbox arcade conversions came out a couple of years ago, which were pretty much arcade perfect. So the version that I'm playing here probably doesn't make much difference, is the North American NTSC version, and the reason for that is, oh dear, I've wrecked the car. The reason for that was because in the PAL release they took out the online play, so I did get to play this I think once over a 56k modem with a server that was in the US, and it played terribly, so I never went back to play it again, but at least I did get to try it out once. So it seems a bit bizarre that I spent all the time trying to track down a North American copy and never really took advantage, but there you go. But you know, from my understanding, the rest of the game is the same, but it looks very, very different to the other versions and even to the arcade. It's got its own visual style, and in a way I think it's a shame that Sega didn't just release this as Daytona 2 and put the tracks from the second game in as well, because it is expanded. So you've got the original 3 tracks, the additional 2 from the Championship Circuit Edition, but it's got another 3 or 4 tracks in as well, and I mean, in all honesty, I've not played those very much recently. They're not as good as the original tracks. I think not even as good as the Championship Circuit ones, and it's mainly because they're more like the oval track, you know, very typical, I say Gran Turismo, but you know, I mean, that kind of racing track, kind of Forza as well, and it doesn't suit this style of game, even though that's what Daytona is. It's an oval and, you know, figure eights and things like that, but for me that wasn't what this game was about. It was interesting tracks that you don't get on other games. The other difference is the handling. So it's odd because the second game, or rather the second edition on the Saturn, wasn't received that well because of the handling, and you'd think that Sega would have just copied the handling from the arcade, but they haven't. They've done something slightly different, which I'm not sure if it feels somewhere between the original and the Championship Circuit, or whether it's just something totally different. It's a bit odd. The cars tend to wheel spin quite a lot. I think that's the main issue, and again, I think playing all 3, for as flawed as the original Saturn game is, I prefer that one. Ow, why is it drifting? Yeah, maybe I should be playing this with a wheel. Yeah, as before, you've got the same 4 views. But it is nice to see this running on a console with it, you know, full draw distance. Yeah, I think a lot of people knock the Saturn for not being visually as good as the PlayStation 1 in terms of 3D graphics, but I think that's probably true if the developers weren't that experienced. But I think on some of the games where the developers were really quite savvy with the hardware, there was some really good graphics, and I think the Saturn got tarnished with the reputation of the first Daytona game, but games like Sega Rally look really good even now. Right, so I thought I'd try a different track, and as before I'll do one that wasn't in the original arcade game. So this is Rin Rin Rink, which is one of the Dreamcast exclusive tracks. And I think, again, almost like, unlike the ones from the Championship Circuit Edition, this, I think those tracks tried to create a short draw distance so that the Saturn would never have to render that far ahead, but on this one you can tell that Sega really are taking advantage of the draw distance that the Dreamcast allows. It's quite impressive. In all honesty, I'm not sure if it was Sega that developed this game, because when it boots up it mentions Genki, and I don't see why Genki would publish a Sega game, so I suspect that maybe Genki did the conversion. I'm not sure. I know they did the Tokyo Highway Challenge games on the Dreamcast, so they'd earned themselves quite a good reputation at that point, amongst other games. But yeah, this track doesn't have... It feels like it doesn't have any kind of personality to it. It's... yeah... Even the original Oval track from the arcade one, for as simple as it was, it had, you know, a personality with the music as well. But on this, it doesn't. It just feels a bit homebrew in a way. It's kind of there, but it feels a bit different. I'm using a different car as well, so this one is the typical really good acceleration, really good top speed, terrible handling. But given that it's a simple track, why is it doing that? It's kind of odd. The car not only is understeering, but it seems to be getting drawn towards the walls. It's like it's magnetic or something. Weird. Yeah, it's almost like there's a bit of Ridge Racer handling in there. Go on, go on, go on. I'm 12th out of 20th. I don't think there's any danger of me winning this somehow. I think out of the Championship Circuit Edition and this one, this is the one that I've probably played the least. I picked this up quite late in the Dreamcast life, and I've played it a little bit, but I've certainly played other games on the Dreamcast a lot more, like Sega Rally 2, which again is a flawed game with frame rate but oozes personality. And then there's Metropolis Street Racer, which is a really good game. I'll have to do a video on that at some point in the near future. Get off the grass. No, that's me done, I think. Yeah, so this has been Sega's Daytona USA on the Dreamcast. And I think, in all honesty, it's the one that I like the least. I find the handling a bit weird, a bit kind of, it's like you're on ice. Despite being a much more complete game with, you know, nearly 10 tracks on it. So yeah, I think if you can get all three, get all three, but I think I'd probably stick with the original on the Saturn, bizarrely. So right, I'll leave it there. So thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the series.